Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. This is a list of tips for you to never die again in Black Ops 7 Zombies. We'll be talking more ways to kill Zersa, ways to never die to Zersa, ways to sustain damage better and absorb more damage without it actually affecting your health bar as much. We'll be talking getting perks more cheaply, basically free Perkaholic-y type things, all sorts of stuff related to survival, and I'll be showing you a way to activate the lightning every single round so that if you're doing the Easter egg, you never have to wait for lightning and faff about with all that stuff. So let's get started. First, did you know that you're actually throwing if you don't upgrade your armor, but not for the reasons that you think? Obviously, when you buy blue armor, you get 2 plates and purple gives you 3. But there's actually something the game doesn't tell you that happens when you upgrade tiers. In this clip, I'll show you what I mean. On tier 1 armor, I can take 9 hits per plate, and this is with no perks, no augments, and I'm obviously on round 10. Then with tier 2 armor, I can still take 9 hits per plate, but when I go to tier 3, I can actually take more hits per plate. I can take 11 now. And what you might have noticed as I've shown you these is that you also take less damage from zombies through your armor as you upgrade it. So at tier 1, I was taking 17 damage per hit, at tier 2, I take 13, and at tier 3, I take 11 damage per hit. So this means if I've got 150 HP and I've got tier 1 armor, if you just get continuously hit, you'll go down as soon as your armor breaks. But if you have 1 plate of purple armor, by the time your armor breaks, you'll still be alive with 29 HP. Next, speaking of armor, the turtle shell augment for Jug was one of the worst augments at the release of Black Ops 6, and many chose to run either probiotic or reactive armor instead. Turtle shell acted like a classic shield, which would negate damage from your back, but it would mitigate 0 damage from the front, and that would mean that if you were getting sucked, you'd have no shielding, and so obviously that would cause a lot of people to just die. Thankfully, Treyarch have changed this in Black Ops 7. Turtle shell now mitigates damage from the front from any attack, and it even stops you from taking damage from things like the bees, which do damage over time, if they initially hit you from behind. So if you use this, you'll maybe never die to the bear ever again. Also, a bonus tip is once you unlock the 2 minor augments option for Jug, you'll be able to enable hardened plates and durable plates at the same time, which is so nice. So I definitely recommend researching the Jug augments earlier than some of the other augments so you can get both of those sooner, and it'll mean that you never die again in your games. So you might think, okay, yeah, that sounds amazing, hell yeah, but what's even better is getting Jug and Turtle Shell alongside it for free. To do this, head to this little ramp in the spawn area across from where Uberclaus spawns, and you'll see this little plant on the ground. Pick it up and then head to Van Dorn Farm and go into the barn, and just to the left of the basement staircase in between the walls, you'll see this little jar you can pick up. Lastly, go to the diner, go into the kitchen, and pick up this stack of eggs. Bring all of those ingredients to the soda fountain behind the front counter and mix them all up inside the cup. Once it's done, you'll get a free Juggernog. Next, now that you know Turtle Shell and Tier 3 armor are crazy OP when combined, you'll probably be trying to buy those as soon as possible the next time you play. But this means you won't be able to spend as many points on things like perks and Pack-a-Punch. Now, in my last tips video, I showed you a trick with toxic growth to grow the plants fast for insane loot in your early game. And that tips video is linked in the description and the corner of the screen right now if you missed it. But the thing is, while that tip is fantastic, you have to wait for your toxic growth to fully charge to start doing it. So one way to speed that up is to bring Power Keg into the game to instantly charge it straight away, but the real trick here is that you don't need to use toxic growth at all to get the plants to grow quickly. Let me show you what I mean. As you can see in the gameplay here, I'm not using toxic growth and the plant still grows super fast, like the same amount of time that it does when I toxic growth it. To do this, you have to spam spray the plant until you can't interact with it anymore. And this effectively fertilizes it a massive amount and makes it grow almost instantly. Now, the danger of doing it this way is that extra zombies will spawn in to compensate, so it might be tricky if your whole team isn't focused on it or you've already got a free Pack-a-Punch reward. But one way to make it easier that's a bit more accessible is to spawn with a point turret and use that to help you thin out the purple zombies. I want to give a thank you to Fidzy for sharing this tip, and you guys should leave comments with your tips if you want to be featured in future tips videos from me. Next, here's another way you can save points super easily in Black Ops 7 Zombies. So hear me out real quick, okay? Quick Revive's best augment in BO6 was Dying Wish. Everybody used it. It kept you alive at 1 HP when you would have instead gone down, but it removed Quick Revive from your perk list, and you had to rebuy it, which could be costly depending on the amount of perks you have. But in Black Ops 7, perks only go up in price after you purchase them, meaning if you get free perks, they do not count towards increasing the next perk purchase price. Now this is going to be relevant in a moment, okay? So stay with me here. So just like Turtle Shell for Jug, Quick Revive also has an augment that got a major buff in Black Ops 7, and it's Equivalent Exchange. And its buff is that when you revive yourself from going down, you keep all of the perks that you had when you died. And this is amazing, right? But this isn't the tip that I'm giving you here. The tip is that remember how I said perks don't go up in price if you've received them for free? It just so happens that the game thinks you're getting all your perks for free when you revive yourself with Equivalent Exchange. And so it resets your perk prices back to 2,500 points. So make sure you do this before it gets patched for cheap perks. As a bonus tip suggestion here, in co-op, use EMT to keep 5 perks while reviving teammates, and that will also reduce perk prices. So okay, I get it, Milo. Equivalent Exchange is god tier, but it only has 3 uses per game, right? And that's a problem if you keep going down to reset the cost of your perks. So the first part of this tip is once you run out of Equivalent Exchanges, save and quit your match, and then equip Dying Wish in your augments and load back in. And that will give you 3 more get out of jail free cards. On top of that though, Quick Revive has a new minor augment that lets you craft an additional self-revive per game. And the new perk Wisp Tea has an augment that can revive you when it's active, called Mask of Salvation. So this means Quick Revive gives you 7 extra lives, self-revives give you 3 extra lives, the Wisp can revive you. So essentially, you can go down infinite times in a match and still just keep on getting revive after revive after revive. And this tip came from Just Peep. Now you know who can be a pain in the ass? Uberclaus. His electric attack is nearly guaranteed to hit you, and it does a lot of damage through armor and straight to your health, and I've been caught plenty of times with my pants down doing this, not realizing that I'm in his puddle of electricity. So instead of trying to battle this dude on your own in the spawn, one thing you can do is pop him out of his little shipping container, and then take the jump pad over to Van Dorn Farm and make him follow you there. Once you get there, run towards the farmhouse and go to the alley by Chompy, look to the left and up from Chompy, and there's a window there with an insta-kill power-up. Shoot it, pick it up, and now you'll be able to kill Uberclaus super easily with insta-kill active. Next, let's go back to some more armor tips, because the whole point of this is for you to never die again, right? So Treyarch added a new Vulture aid augment that looks great on paper, but it might actually be screwing you over. So the augment currently skips the armor replating animation and auto-applies armor plates when you lose armor, which sounds amazing, don't get me wrong, until you realize any amount of damage you take triggers your armor to refill. So you could take 1 damage from a little rat, and if you've got an armor plate, it will then just use your armor plate. And this warning comes from another comment from the Capajoj. So I'd say avoid this augment unless you're doing a strategy that specifically benefits from it, but there's also another thing that I'd change to avoid wasting plates. Go to your settings, go to Combat Advanced Settings, and change your armor plating behavior from Apply All to Apply 1 plate per use. This is going to mean that you don't replate when you've just lost 1 HP of armor. Next, we have a tip from Colin, and this one's focused on old Tessie. She really takes a beating out there, especially if you're spending a lot of time in the fog for Easter egg steps. And while speed boosting is totally an option to knock Ravagers off Tessie, or using walls to scrape them off also works, it might not be enough to save her. But there's a new equipment in Black Ops 7 called a point turret, and if you throw those onto the top of Tessie, you can watch them go to town defending her from the little rats. Next, PhD Slider and Tribologist was certified crack cocaine in the brain in Black Ops 6, and Treyarch has put a stop to that with Black Ops 7, sadly. So while PhD Slider is nice for killing zombies in front of you by sliding into them, you may decide to experiment with other augments now that it isn't the absolute go-to combo. But the nice thing is that in this game, Treyarch has actually buffed your character, and so even if you don't have those augments on, if you slide into a zombie, you can still knock it over. It does a very small amount of damage, but if insta-kill's on, for example, any damage is lethal damage, so it will take it out. And this means that the other augments have kind of got a stealth buff, just by virtue of the fact that this is no longer specific to that little Tribologist PhD Slider combo. Next, Pig Boop has a pro tip for us. So once you get later on into your matches, you're going to be facing more and more Xursas, Ravagers, and armored zombies. And I mentioned in the last video, you can kill Xursas super fast with Napalm Burst, but this becomes a big problem when you're trying to fight 2 or even 3 Xursas at once. So what's the move here, Captain? Well, thank you for asking. The answer is use Frenzied Guard with Frenzy Fire and Extension, and it will then use ammo from your weapon's reserves, so you don't have to reload while Frenzied Guard is active. Also, Frenzied will attract all zombies to you, so the bears aren't going to run away, and then what you need to do is activate Frenzied Guard and then spam the Necrofluid Gauntlet at your feet for nearly the entire duration of Frenzied Guard. Then do the Explosion Suck Attack and blow up absolutely everything on your screen. And if you're finding that you're taking too much damage during this, or the bears are harassing you in a way that's annoying, if you do this stood next to the saw blade trap as well, it will kill stuff as you're doing the strat. I mean that you're harassed a little bit less while you're building up your explosion. Next, a little bonus tip for you here is right before you exfil, go to Zarya Cosmodrome and head to underneath the rocket. Then stand on this concrete barrier and aim where I'm aiming here and shoot. It's very small, but there's a full power-up hiding back there, and then you can start your exfil and immediately pop the Frenzied Guard that I just showed you and shoot your Necrofluid Gauntlet at the ground once again. And this way, you'll take out the Xursa HVT pretty damn fast, and it will mean that your exfil is a little bit more guaranteed. Next, PSA for all Black Ops 7 Zombies players that value their lives. Do your TED tasks, for goodness sake, especially when you've got all the perks, because you're gonna earn those perma perks. I mentioned this in my first tips video on the game. They're incredible. They stay after you go down, meaning you can run out of Dying Wish or equivalent exchange, and you can still have all of your perks just by making them perma perks. Now, in combination with this, make sure you've got the Treasure Hunter Augment on for Death Perception, and that's gonna give you better loot from crates and from elites, and so that increases your chances of getting those perma perks. But that isn't the tip, okay? The tip is that mystery perks from any source will grant you perma perks if you've got every single perk. So that means you should also keep doing the plants in your game, because those can give you perma perks when they drop mystery perks as well. Before we get to more ways to insta-kill Xursa, let's talk about a couple Easter egg steps. So I've got a full video coming with tips on how to never fail the Easter egg. That will be on my channel very soon, and I'll link it in the description and in the corner of the screen right now once it's up. But just beforehand, I want to give you a couple of never die again steps for 2 of the bits of the egg that are very easy to die on. So first, the lockdown step in Yuri's lab. This can be a real pain in the ass because you'll be set to low HP when you start it, but speedrunners have found some interesting ways to approach this. So what you can do is stand in the corner against the now closed door, because you're in a lockdown, and shoot towards those 2 zombie spawns, the window and a spawner to the right of the ingredient table. If you're using the Necrofluid Gauntlet, you'll gain health from recalling your needles if they go through zombies. And if you're using the Melee Macchiato Augment Vampiric, that will also mean that if you spam melee, you'll lifesteal quite a lot of health while you do this. And Ether Shroud with extra charge is great in here as well, and means that you can pretty much skip the entire step if you use it. Now, the other step during the egg that a lot of people have difficulty with is finding the keys in the fog. And the easiest way to do this, once again, really, is to just have Ether Shroud. You bring Tessie with you, you pop your Ether Shroud, you shoot the key, you pick it up, you hop in Tessie, and you're done. Now let's talk Xursa strats. Hunter Killer Drones. These things are so good. They target specials and elites exclusively. And so if you stock up on these and then just throw them above your head if you're camping a spot while you're waiting for Xursa to spawn, and then when it spawns in, they'll both take out the Xursa and pretty much insta-kill it, or they'll take it down very low. Thank you to Spectral Force for this tip. You can also get a bunch of Hunter Killers with the Vulture Aid Augment Picky Eater, which drops your equipment more frequently. And a bonus to this is the Death Perception Augment Critical Eye has the chance for body shots to become crits, which also apply to Hunter Killer drones. But that's not all, okay? Another way to absolutely clap the Xursa into next week is the Humble Hand Cannon. It's amazing, seriously. You can basically 3-shot the bear, meaning a single hand cannon can kill 3 bears. And if you happen to not have one of those hand cannons and you've got a mangler cannon instead, that's also really good to kill Xursa. It's not as good as the hand cannon because you can only kill about 1 bear, I think, with 1 mangler cannon, but it's still another option. So I mentioned at the start of the video, how to spawn the lightning every round. What you need to do is get to the step in the Easter egg where the lightning would be spawning in. And don't worry, it doesn't need to be there in your round, obviously, because we're going to be spawning it in ourselves. But you just need to get to that step where you've got the Wunderwaffe turret on the back of Tessie. Then you're going to go to the diner, and in the diner, one of the streetlights will be turned off, and it will have a tiny little sparking effect on it. There's 3 possible streetlights that this could be happening on. It won't be the exact same one every single time. So you're going to check this one right here, and as you can see in my game, I've got it. So I'm going to shoot that, and it's going to start sparking more. Then I'm going to look at some of these other streetlights, and I'm going to try this one, and as you can see, that's going to start sparking. And then I'm going to shoot this one here, and that's going to start sparking as well. Once that happens and you've done all 3, the lightning will spawn in for that round. And you can then do everything you need to do with the Easter egg that round, and then you can go to the next round, and you just need to shoot the streetlights again, but the order will have changed in the next round, so just do it in the order of the ones that you see sparking a tiny bit first. Shoot that, it'll spark more, shoot the second, shoot the third, etc. Now, this is a massive quality of life improvement when you're doing the Easter egg, but I've also got a bunch of tips for you to, for example, spawn in Xerxes before round 16, so you can do that part of the Easter egg sooner, and entire ways to skip parts of the Easter egg, and those will all be contained inside my Never Fail Again Easter egg tips video linked on the screen right now. So click through to that, and I'll see you there for one of the most value jam-packed videos on Black Ops 7 Zombies that exists on YouTube, period. So click through, and I'll see you there.